this day. And I'm excited because in a few weeks, we have a whole cohort of Uzbeks that are coming. And we're going to train, we're doing an event called Train the Trainer, because what Majid and I and David do, when we go into a country and we do this, the goal is not for us to do it forever. The goal is to raise up the locals to do it. And so we're going to train them. And so there'll be retreats all over the country. And we're very excited about that. And we look forward to it. So I would just say to you that when I look at Uzbekistan, I'm excited about what I see happening. Is it perfect? No. I'm an American. We certainly aren't perfect. You read the papers lately. We can't seem to get along. We have forgotten the very thing that we want to tell the rest of the world to do. We have to rediscover that. We have to see one another as human beings. Even if we disagree among irreconcilable differences. Like, for example, I discovered, Majid, y'all believe in the virgin birth? You believe that Jesus never sinned? You believe he worked miracles? You believe he's coming back? This is incredible. You believe he died on the cross for our sins? Okay, he's almost there. He's not far. But I found out there are so many things that we agree on.
Of course, you don't even try it with me.
David thinks we're all going to heaven. It doesn't matter. But I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I know your country has been trying to open up the last several years. Mr. Ambassador, I've enjoyed getting to know you. And I'm excited about the future of Uzbekistan. I want to challenge you to move forward. Religious freedom is not one of those things we fix and it's done. I'm an evangelical. We have the worst reputation for how we view Muslims and how we treat them. But you can't fix that. But I can, because I'm an evangelical. And so it's necessary for those that are in a culture to have courage, to challenge your own tribe. We need to deal with these issues. And we have to have people who look at the future from the vantage point of the long haul and not the short haul. Muhammad Majid is going to come, and when he speaks, he's going to talk to you about the role of clerics and peacemaking and how we do that. And then David is going to come talk to you about the whole role of peacemaking as it relates to religious freedom and what's going on around the world. So thank you for having us tonight, Ambassador. We celebrate the good changes that are going on in your country. We challenge you to keep pushing forward and not turn back. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wow. I am very grateful. Thank you. We can put 4 steaks on that. Thank you.
The name of God is also blessed and giver of mercy. Assalamu alaikum. I don't know what to do with this pastor. But I would like to say that this has been an amazing journey with the evangelical pastors and rabbi across America. I get to know Rabbi Deyvid for a long time also. He's one of the people who stood for the Muslims community in this country in the most difficult time and guided people to speak against bigotry and hate and Islamophobia. And he, one of the founders of many interfaith organizations. Bob and I are very happy to have him working with us across the globe. When I met this pastor, Bob Roberts, in Nepal, we were meeting talking about the issue of religious freedom. And Muslim countries. And then we thought about the challenge in America. How can we address the issue of Islamophobia and hatred in the United States? And as Bob has said to me, the communities, evangelical Christians, are the most misinformed and misunderstanding view of Islam and Muslims. And he said to me the worst than that community is the pastor themselves. For as he said that we brought the pastor together in Texas, which I consider another country. And after we finished that retreat, we decided to take this to different cities. Let me just explain the idea. The idea is to bring a pastor, an imam, and a rabbi, and have them sit in a retreat where they become vulnerable. Because you cannot know people unless you have vulnerability. With exposure and vulnerability, familiarity, possibilities. After 3 days, the rabbi and the imam, pastors get together, especially that the first time was pastor and imams. The evangelical pastor didn't want their picture to be taken with Muslims. They were worried about the congregations. After 3 days, they said, you can take our pictures, you can invite me to our home. And now we are in 20 cities at least. And what we do in the retreat, we'll have them really to confront the stereotype and misunderstanding. For the imams, sit on one side, the pastors on one side, the rabbi on the other side. And then they have to write down how they think about the others and how they want the other to view them. In the beginning of the presentation, very tough, because sometimes you hear something that they didn't expect. But we have them to do 5 things after the retreat. The imam and the pastor and the rabbi, they have to develop friendship, relationship, personal relationship, by visiting one another's home, humanizing one another. And the second thing they do is they bring the congregation together around a social event where people get to know one another. And the third, they have to choose a social service project in the neighborhood where the imam and the pastor and the rabbi bring the congregation to work together, whether ending homelessness, or addressing the issue of vaccination at the time of COVID-19. And the fourth is to stand for one another, for each other, to protect the freedom of everyone in the community. And that's why when a mosque was burning in Washington, Seattle, because some of the misinformed person had burned the mosque, a pastor came to the imam while the mosque was burning and handed him over the keys of his church. He said, now we can use our church, we'll stand with you. And when a rabbi was hosted in Texas, was Pastor Bob, and the imam, local imam, stood with him. And when the church also was attacked and burned, Islamic Relief and other organizations donated money for that church. Therefore, it is that kind of solidarity, standing with one another, and not only to talk about those values, but to live those values. And I'm very happy to see the change on those retreats. People will stand up, said to us, they said to us, we came here with different views, we live in different views. And that's why we take this now to major cities, and we hope that will spread this kind of collaboration, peace building around the world. God bless you. May God Almighty reward our ambassador for bringing us here tonight. I enjoyed your country very much. Uzbekistan is a country of scholars. Bukhari, Tirmidhi, Nisai, and other scholars of Islam. When we went to Uzbekistan, we as a group of Muslims went to the tomb of Imam Bukhari. It was very moving, Mr. Ambassador. And we have recited actually the first page in the book of Imam Bukhari. Thank you so much for opening this beautiful embassy for all of us and welcoming us and bringing this beautiful gathering today of people with different faith, ethnicity, culture, background. Thank you so much. God bless you and God bless your country.
For promoting religious tolerance, religious education, Islamic studies, on behalf of government of Uzbekistan, let me present this to Muhammad Majid. Dear guests, I am privileged to invite to hear Rabbi Deyvid Saperstin, a respected voice in advocating religious freedom and social justice.
Well, what a wonderful evening to be here in this beautiful embassy for Iftar and be able to share that with the Interfaith community. Ambassador, I want to thank you as a Jewish guest at your Iftar. Your country, of all the countries in Central Asia, has had the strongest continuous tradition of the Jewish community. In many of the places we go, it is a Christian-Muslim retreat that we have. We were in Sudan, sadly, a month before the coup, in a fantastic retreat here, and what a shame here. And we should just remember the extraordinary humanitarian crisis that exists in Sudan right now. It is enormous, amongst the greatest in the world, and we have to stand together, the interfaith community, to help lead efforts to address the needs there. We were there, and it was, they said, what was the thing you remember most? And all kinds of things. And like 2 or 3 of them said, it was the first time I ever met a Jew. But in Uzbekistan, there we're able to have representatives of the Jewish community who participate in it, and it is especially successful for us. And it's true what Reverend Bob said. One piece of interfaith relations comes a little bit easier to the Jewish community because we truly believe that we do not have the only path to heaven and to salvation. That anyone who accepts the one true God and is a moral, righteous, just person has an equal opportunity, whatever their religion, to obtain heaven. So we don't have the need to go out and convert my 2 friends here. We'll let them go away with their erroneous. I want to quickly cover a lot of territory first. This is an extraordinary period in terms of interfaith relations. With all the problems we have, and I'll get to a few of those soon. With all the problems we have, there is more interfaith cooperation, more interfaith groups, more interfaith networks in existence today on earth than at any point in all of human history. Paradoxically, across the world, we see governments, societies, non-state actors, and yes, some in the name of religion, intensify their practices of hate in speech and in action. On the streets of our city, countries near and far, we see those who resort to violence, conflict, terror as a way of resolving differences and achieving domination over others. We see as well as structural, legal, and economic inequities and injustices that still flourish in most places on earth, taking such a human toll. And one of the most effective antidotes to this hate, violence, injustice is the power and effectiveness of interfaith communities the world working together. And this gathering and the warm welcome that Multi-Faith Neighbors Network has been given to Uzbekistan is an example of your deep appreciation of this power of interfaith relations here. While we have challenges all of us must face within our own faith communities of combating extremism and delegitimizing extremism within our own faith communities, we can work together. In our vast numbers, we can achieve things that none of us can achieve alone. In our engagement and openness to hear and learn, we enrich ourselves, not only in learning about others, including those whom we have long had a lack of understanding about what Bob was describing in terms of evangelicals, Muslims, and Jews here, but we, paradoxically, in explaining our faith to others, we deepen our understanding of our own faith at the same time. And in the very act of meeting and sharing and dialoguing and working together to bridge divides and enhance cooperation, we are modeling the very world we're trying to create. And our ability to address any of these issues here in religious communities, interfaith coalitions, depends on the freedom to act peacefully in accordance with our religious conscience. Indeed, religious freedom is bound up with addressing almost every urgent issue that we face in our nations from across the globe. You cannot counter violent extremism, confront terrorism done in the name of religion if we lack the freedom to counteract that. You cannot have the stability that is a sine qua non, the essential requirement in building democracy and resolving conflicts, engaging and providing the indispensable social services that the religious communities so extensively provide to hundreds of millions of people, probably billions of people, every day across the globe. And if persecuted people, often the minorities in our countries, cannot live freely and safely in accordance with their religious beliefs, their fear and despair often provides fertile ground for extremists to come and say, you'll never get your freedoms with this government. Come work with us as we overthrow it. It is in all of our interests to allow people to live peacefully, so long as they do not interfere with anyone else's rights in accordance with their religious beliefs. Amongst the things that religion does distinctly is to play a role in peace, creating peace, building and peacekeeping. We all have powerful themes in our religious traditions that we teach and we've taught the world. In my own tradition, from one of the great medieval commentaries on the Bible, great is peace, for God's name is peace. That is the same in Islam. One of the names for God in Islam is peace as well. Great is peace, for it encompasses all blessings. Great is peace, for even in times of war, peace must be sought. Great is peace, for when the Messiah, which in traditional Judaism we believe would be the coming of the Messianic age of peace and justice for all, it will commence with peace. Or most famously from the Bible, the lines that they shall beat their swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And the warning of my own tradition from 2,000 years ago, that the sword enters the world because of justice delayed and justice denied, speeds across the centuries to us in our world today. And indeed, the Quran, talking about peace, has another lesson for us that speaks across the centuries, because it is not just war and peace, but hate speech that fills so much of our internet, our social media, our culture, and our communities. We're warned against that too in the Quran, chapter 59, verses 25 and 26. Therein will they hear no abusive speech, nor any talk of sin, only the saying of salam, salam, of peace, of peace. That is the role that we played in countries across the globe. You know it well. Reconciliation in Ireland, in South Africa. building of policing at different periods of time in many of the Central American countries, the role of the Catholic Church there, in the Philippines, here in Sri Lanka, for a period of a number of years, in a number of countries. There's an ebb and flow to these things, but almost always, where there is increasing comity and cooperation, it is because religious communities are playing a central role. So, to the religiously oppressed in every land, who live in fear, afraid to speak of what they believe, who worship in underground mosques or churches or synagogues because they cannot do it freely, lest authorities discover and punish their devotion to an authority beyond the state. For those who languish in prison, tortured, bodies broken, spirits too often disfigured, for those who have been ethnically cleansed, are in the name of religion victims of violence, in Myanmar, in India, in China, which for Uyghurs and Tibetan Buddhists is seeking the evisceration of those communities, in all of them, simply because they love God in their own way, or question the existence of God, who feel so desperate that they must flee their homes to avoid killing or persecution because of their faith. For all of them, let us make a commitment as in interfaith communities, working together, and as nations, working together on behalf of human rights for all. Let us work and act with courage and determination to be a shining beacon of hope and light for freedom for all humankind. Bless you in this Ramadan period. I noticed that the imam, when he first came out with the small box, compared to the big box, he was a little worried.
Actually, Imam can say something on the beautiful speech.